Hey folks, hope you all are doing great and having an amazing day. Welcome to my channel ServiceNow Skyline. So as we discussed in our last skill interview 1, so presently I'm going to share my journey with the skill interview 2 which I recently attended with Accenture for the ServiceNow consultant slash developer position. So here the interview ran for basically 35 to 40 minutes and it was purely technical. And just to give you an overview, like it was a video round, and where we had two of the technical recruiters from Accenture, and I was there, and it was a video call. I was on the screen sharing as well. I have to, share my video as well. So let's get started with that. Let's get started. So the first question, tell me about yourself. They asked me about to explain at least three of my projects which I have recently completed. So this is just an example which I have prepared via this slide, but in actual I explained about my three projects which I have recently completed in my company. So one, I explained about the decision support system which I was working. So basically it was an integration of ServiceNow with the on-prem ZOS mainframe storage systems, and where we had to create the manual service map based on the like entry points and the endpoints. So basically those devices were split over two sides, that is AITC and PITC, and then we had to create the manual service map based on the IPs available. So I explained that as my first project. And then coming to the second project, I explained about the public key infrastructure, so basically PKI. So in that project, basically first we had to create the SSH versus SNMP credentialless activity. And once that SNMP IPs it was established, and then we proceeded with the service map creation for the PKI. So that was my second project which I explained in detail. And the third one I explained about Citrix application form. So here what happened, we were given some 4 to 5 CIs, and we had to map those CIs internally with the with the Citrix applications. So that was my third project. I just I completed those and explained those projects in detail for around 15 minutes. So when I was explaining those projects, at the end they used to ask me one or two questions, and then I used to proceed with explaining the remaining part. Apart from that, I also explained that I am good with integrating ServiceNow with the third party applications like Juniper Mist or Enlight application Enlights. So I have done this in the past, and there were a few queries related to that. I'll come to that in the next part of the video. So those also things I explained in detail. And as well as in this skill, as per the first skill interview 1, so similar question was asked about the programming for JavaScript. How do you rate yourself? But I was not asked to write any code, or on their platform I was not asked to submit any. They just asked me about my ratings, like how do you rate yourself with the JavaScript, which I did. And this is certifications. So those certifications were asked, like which certifications you currently have, and which you are planning to procure in the coming future. And do you follow the ServiceNow letters, newsletters, and ServiceNow University? So those all things I just explained based on my personal behalf, like what I used to do. So it may vary for the people to people. And apart from this, they also asked me about the other modules. So I explained them about ITSM, HRSD, and then integration and automation. So here in the ITSM, they asked me a question regarding what is an emergency change, what is an expedite change. So these all process I had done earlier, so I knew it. So I explained it about these changes. And from the integration, they asked me about the APIs, REST, and SOAP. Have you worked on the Postman? So these all things they asked about Spoke Designer, Spoke Configuration Flow Designer. So these the things which I only started explaining, and there were questions from them also. Obviously, mid server, they asked me about the questions related to mid server. They asked me question related to discovery, CMDB, service portal, So and event management, so these questions were there, but we can prepare more queries. It could be different for different. Basically the question revolves around the project which we have handled. So the many questions were framed from the projects which I explained, and it was like me who was making them ask those questions. So I was revolving them with those, so I used to update some points in the projects, and they used to ask me that question, so it went in a smooth manner. So that is that I explained. Mm. Then it was there like service with the project only. This topic was getting handled. Like in the project only, I was saying that when I was creating the for the decision support system, I had many errors I used to face. The host was not available in the CMDB, or the IP is not accessible. Though how the port I took help from SSH port 22 to be opened, or 135 for Windows. How I opened, how I worked with the infra teams, how I worked with the network team, how I worked with the Wintel teams, and got those things resolved. How was my collaboration? So I explained in depth, and they were also looking the type of errors which you have worked and you have resolved. You have worked, you have those experience of troubleshooting. So they wanted to see the more experience we saw in your error troubleshooting, because errors will come, but how we approach and troubleshoot those things was they were looking for. So I explained about this, the pattern analysis and logs, also entry point validation, exit. So these are the questions which were common. They was asked to me. And with the third party integrations, yeah, the like email systems, cloud infrastructure. So how do you have like orchestration? So do you have like how you can integrate ServiceNow with the cloud management? So these questions were there for which I provided the answers. So yeah, and which of the ITSM tools you have worked before? So this was also there. So yeah, as per this slide, like you can see that questions were asked basically from all these areas. They were questions, and the questions were asked, and I explained. I tried to explain as much as possible. So yeah, so this I can say for this one. Yeah, as I said, like the questions were revolving around this also, like ITSM and event management. So they asked me about the emergency and expedite change, which I have explained earlier. So I think there will be one or two questions from the ITSM module as well in this interview. So that is how it was, and that is how I explained. And yeah, these were there, like they asked about the CMDB architecture best practices. So this topic I like covered during my project explain when I was explaining my project. I tried to go deep into the CMDB. I tried to explain the database, how the CIs are placed, and how we have to update the firmware or any serial number, or how. So I tried to explain them as deep as possible from whatever experience I had. So yeah, but yeah, the questions were around those. And one question they asked me, which I thought some, and then I responded. They asked me about rate limiting or throttling, whether I have done in the past. So yes, I have worked on rate limiting and throttling for one of the third-party application, Enlight application. So there, what was the spike story assigned to me, like to if you have to create the rate limiting for the Enlight, so that it doesn't entertain more than 1,000 requests in an hour. So for testing, and if for example, if an hour, if it is the API is hit with more than 1,000 requests, then it has to return an error 429, that too many request status, and retry. So this was the spike story which was assigned. So I had done this earlier around 2 3 years back. So I explained them about that. For testing I used Postman, and then in the Postman I configured it for true, like two API requests in an hour, and I showed them for two requests, if it was there, it gave a 200 OK message, and when it exceeded more than two APIs hit during an hour, it gave an error code with 429. So they were okay with this one. And they said okay. And then yeah, the OAuth and the basic auth, and these REST APIs, also the questions were asked related to that. I explained them. So yeah, this is what we can refer. Yeah, and the last, it was the similar discussion which I had in the skill interview round one also. That what is the salary expectation? What is your present salary? What is your expectation? So basically, this question I have been being asked it from the first, before the skill interview first also. The first time when the HR called, they asked me this, and even the skill interview one and two, I was asked. And for location preference, which I have given in my skill interview one, they said like, oh, like, will you be available to be, come to office for a day or two? Like mostly it is gonna be an hybrid setup. So I responded to that, and also they asked me if the project requires, will you be available to, work in shifts or 24/7 or in weekends if allowed. So I said yes for all those points. And yeah, that is how the interview, skill interview 2 went. It was approximately for 35 to 40 minutes, and I tried to answer most of the questions which the interviewer asked. So yeah, it was all good, and I received the feedback on the same day itself. Yeah. So thanks all. Thanks for watching, and have a great evening ahead. Thank you.